what are we covering today? So one of the things I get a lot of questions on is people are talking about cloud calling, and they want to know which version of cloud calling they should be going with. So this is one of the things that comes up very often. I want you guys to be able to answer this question as it happens, and then we'll go through a little bit more about those two options. Let me switch it over to Chris Heinrich here. Go ahead, Chris.
Hey, everybody. It's nice to see everybody on the call today. So, yeah, this is a very common question that we're getting from a lot of partners because there is a few different offers now in Cisco's cloud collaboration calling portfolio that you can position as partners. I think one of the biggest questions that we're receiving is, when do I position a WebEx calling solution? We're talking WebEx calling broad cloud solution versus a Cisco UCM in the cloud solution. So let's give you this first example of a customer that has reached out to you. This customer is not currently on a Cisco solution. Maybe they're on something IP related outside of Cisco, or maybe they're running still something old and legacy on analog. And the customer has heard a lot of these buzzwords around moving their telephony solution to the cloud, and they want to lead with a cloud solution. In this type of scenario, it is best to look at a solution around the WebEx calling portfolio. And the reason why is because you're going to be doing a feature comparison no matter what, because you're looking at comparing an existing feature set to what the customer has to what the current feature set of WebEx calling has, okay? And that's not all too difficult when relating it to a third-party solution, right? Also, with the WebEx calling solution, it fits a need of, something small, 25 users, up to 1,000 users and more. It can go beyond that, but that's really where the bread and butter of that solution fits. Another nice benefit to starting fresh and new with a WebEx calling broad cloud solution as it relates to positioning is when you're looking to position the devices. So the Cisco handsets that work with WebEx calling broad cloud are MPP handsets. So I know Matt's going to talk a little bit more about the models that are supported, but when you're positioning an MPP handset up front to a customer that doesn't have an existing Cisco solution today, it's very easy. You actually would purchase handsets that are already pre-loaded with the MPP software. So it makes the deployment a lot more efficient. It fits the need of the customer a lot better than what a traditional UCM solution would look like, right? And that's not to say that you can't look at positioning a UCM solution. Maybe the feature set of WebEx calling broad cloud doesn't meet the needs of the customer and they want to look at something better and more robust like a UCM in the cloud solution. It's not to say that you can't position it, it's just to say this is where we're seeing WebEx calling more prominently positioned. So let's say you have a customer, this is example 2, right? Example 2, you have an existing customer, right, that you've sold a Cisco Unified Communications Manager to, right? Whether it's a BE6K solution, BE7K solution, whatnot. The customer has used this solution for a few years. They're currently running Cisco handsets. They have a voice gateway in place to handle their circuits, whether they're SIP trunks or PRIs, and they're currently leveraging the enterprise-grade feature set that you typically have in Unified Communications Manager along with all the complementary collaboration applications. This is where we might want to have a discussion with a customer that wants to move to the cloud to position them into a UCM in the cloud offer. So UCM in the cloud, on paper, starts at 1,000 users and above. We have seen in the Collaboration Flex Plan that you can configure the solution starting at 250 users. So yes, you would have to do some comparison on cost to see what's more beneficial there, but it is configurable at 250 users. And the nice thing about this solution is it's essentially those applications that the customer is using already today, right? The UCM, the complementary collaboration applications that go alongside UCM, it's just being hosted in Cisco's data centers in the cloud. So the customer is not losing any feature set. They're not losing any functionality that they're used to. And quite possibly, they can leverage existing endpoints that they already have installed. And I say that, and the quite possibly, it all depends on what type of models are installed, because UCM in the cloud is starting off at version 12.x. We all know that version 12.x and higher, soon to be, will start deprecating some of those older models. However, if customers have existing handsets, there may be a possibility that we can use those handsets in this type of solution if we move that customer over to it. From an administration perspective, UCM in the cloud is fully grants the customer access to UCM's interface, the GUI interface. It is not like Cisco HCS where there's a VOS layer of interfacing. This is direct access to the applications. So from an administration perspective, the configuration will also look the same to that customer, right? So once again, example 2, not that you can't position a WebEx calling broad cloud solution to an existing BE6K or BE7K customer, but there's a little bit more work under the hood that goes into positioning WebEx calling on those types of solutions versus a UCM in the cloud calling solution.
Thank you, Chris. So let's go back to Brian here. So it sounds great to Brian. He has a lot of customers that's going from BE6K, and he wants to talk specifics. So let's get into that a little bit. UCM in the cloud. So with Cisco UCM in the cloud, we have really 2 different major versions. We have the UCM in the cloud, the basic one, and then we have the government edition. So really the basic one is going to be designed for people that have customers with 1,000 users or more. And then we have the government one, which is 250 users or more. Really the big difference is going to be security. So there's a lot more around security on the government side. So if you have U.S. federal, state, local, education, all those people would be people that you'd want to gear towards more the government side versus your standard clientele, which would be on the UCM in the cloud. As far as the standard clientele, there's 2 major versions on that side too. There's the partner connected, which has been around for a little bit now, and there's also customer connected, which was new as of January. So partner connected is where you as a reseller play the middleman between Cisco and the end user. So you pretty much are the one that's going to be hosting it at your location. You can have people dial into your location. You can host the PSTN at your location if you want. Pretty much everybody goes through you to get up to the Cisco cloud. So the advantage of that is that you have a lot more capabilities as far as what you want to allow your people to use. So maybe it's UCCX that you want to run for somebody. You can technically host that at your location and offer that as an additional service versus having to have people directly connected, which is the new version, directly back to Cisco's cloud for every single customer. So the downside to that is that every single one of those customers has to have a pipe back to Cisco, which can get kind of expensive for those customers. And if you want to then pull them in later, you can. So what I've noticed is a lot of people are starting out with the customer connected until they get a couple customers under their belt, and then they move them to the partner connected because there's no upfront cost on the customer connected. It's just per customer you're getting charged at that level, where a partner connected side, you're going to have that upfront cost to get yourself set up, and then adding additional customers under you, so there's no additional cost for the connection back to Cisco.
With this UCM in the cloud solution, right now, in both models, whether it's partner connected or customer connected, within UCM in the cloud, Cisco will host the core applications, and those applications are going to be UCM, Unity Connection, Voicemail, Instant Messaging and Presence, and Expressway. So any of the other complementary applications, like a UCCX, for example, Unified Attending Console Advanced, anything that maybe you want to do on-prem video specific, those would be either at the discretion of how the customer wants to deploy them or you as the partner in each model. So the options that you could leverage are, if you're leveraging a partner-connected environment, if you are the partner are presenting that to your customer, when you sign up your customers via Flex for UCM in the cloud, you do get access to space in Cisco's Equinox data center, and that data center is the same data center where UCM in the cloud is being hosted, so you will not have any issues meeting the latency requirements between those applications, right? So that is a benefit of using the partner-connected model, right? You still host that on behalf of the customer. It's not hosted by Cisco, but you obviously can make the two work. Of course, if the customer wanted a hybrid design, hybrid model, you could have them leverage the core applications in UCM in the cloud and then have the customer install contact center, all those other third-party complementary applications, running on a Cisco UCS server at the customer location, and just make sure you have the proper connectivity back to that data center to meet the latency requirements.
So we've kind of gotten into this a little bit, but here's the big thing. So the onboarding requirements are going to be a little bit more advanced when it comes to the UCM in the cloud when it's partner connected. So that direct connects back to Cisco, the Equinox Cloud Exchange. Those are all going to be pieces that you're going to need to make sure that are in place. also making sure that the locations that you're using are all hitting the geographic locations that Cisco is currently available in, and we'll cover those a little bit later as well. If you go with the cloud connected option, the customer connected, then that's going to be much more simple for you. Training's a little bit simpler, and that's really all you have to do is make sure you know how to order it and know how to support it. And at that point, you're pretty much done. So as far as support, this does follow the same rules as standard CUCM. So you're going to be selling it, you're also going to be supporting it. So Cisco supports break fix on their end if something goes wrong at their servers, things like that. But the actual manageability and setting it up and all that stuff is still going to fall on you as the partner to get that stuff done. So you're going to handle that relationship back to the end user. You're going to offer any additional PSTN services or add-ons that they want at your location. So all that's still done with you. Cisco is just providing the basic UCM piece that you're connecting back to. And then as far as the devices that are supported on UCM in the cloud, is pretty much everything that you'd support on an on-prem solution. So as long as it's supported on 12.5, for CUCM, it'll be supported on this cloud instance as well. Currently, that's the instance that they're spinning up when you purchase that. Now, again, as new instances come out, that's something that they're going to want to roll up into the newer instance as those are available. So just be aware that you're going to want to make sure which instance is being deployed when you spin it up and what the requirements of your hardware is.
And one thing to add there too, Matt, is the upgrades are handled by Cisco. Right, so this is something that is managed from Cisco TAC. They perform the upgrades for the applications that they're hosting in UCM in the cloud. Of course, if there's certain compatibility requirements that you have to meet with the other Cisco UC applications, then those would also have to be upgraded as well. But messaging is directed down to you as the partner and the customer as to how and when those upgrades are going to happen.
As far as the PSTN connectivity options, you have your local PSTN gateway, so like a 4000 if you're going to be using that one. And then there's also the partner-connected cloud PSTN is where if you're doing the partner-connected solution, you can offer that at your location. So you connect the PSTN at your location, then everybody connects to you for that calling piece. The cloud-connected PSTN provider, that is roadmapped. So if you're looking for the old Spark calling type solution where you register it just through the cloud and you pick what calling solution you want, that is coming. So it isn't there yet for the solution, but it is on the horizon. As far as where you need to connect to, so these are the different locations. So in America, we have San Jose and Dallas. For the EU, there's Amsterdam and London. And in APJ, we have Tokyo and Singapore. So as long as you connect back to one of those data centers, then you can pretty much offer this. As far as there are some limitations, and really these limitations come around the embargoed countries. It's not that technically they couldn't be connected, it's that they're excluding these countries because of a U.S. embargo. So if you're currently selling in any of these 5 countries, just make sure that this is that you're communicating to your salespeople that this is not a solution for those particular countries at this time. As far as how you connect back to the system, that's really up to you. I mean, there's the WebEx Connect. There's Virtual Connect, which is like your SD-WAN and your VPN. Keep in mind that it's only available via Viptela right now for SD-WAN. Meraki option is on the horizon, but isn't quite there yet. And that's what we're seeing as the most utilized solution right now because it saves a lot of money over like a fiber connection or an MPLS connection. So if you've got a lot of customers that are currently using MPLS or fiber, it's definitely a good conversation to have with them about switching over to an SD-WAN opportunity because that'll save them a lot of money on the back end.
Yeah, and just to add on this, just wanted to add to this point, and I think it's the next slide where you show where you choose these options in CCW. So as it relates to these types of connectivity options, this is more or less correlated to that direct customer connection, right? And each customer can have their own different type of connection depending on their size, their requirements, what they're willing to pay for, et cetera. And like Matt said, SD-WAN is becoming a lot more popular because it's more on the more inexpensive side to administer the voice application. But, you know, when you're configuring this in CCW, if you're using this direct customer type environment, if you choose Direct Connect, as you can see, you'll then be presented with those 4 options, whether it's WebEx Edge, SD-WAN, VPN, Virtual Connect, Fiber Connect, or MPLS. And those costs are built directly into your Flex quote, right? And that's kind of where you don't have as much flexibility as it relates to positioning it versus something that you may want to do on the partner side, right? And that's the big difference between the partner-led option and the direct-led option. Is the partner-led option, you have the ability to choose however you want to connect between Cisco and your customers, and then from there, package those offerings to and from your customers based on their needs, right? So it could be more beneficial for them and more beneficial for you as a partner to make additional revenue based on those connectivity types. So as Matt kind of said before, a lot of partners that are getting into this are starting off with the Direct Connect option. They're just going customer by customer, adding a few customers here and there and choosing whichever works best for them. At a certain point where you get to a certain level where you might have 5, 6, 7, 8, or 9 customers added to the solution, you as a partner, it may be beneficial to you to look towards this partner connected option. That way you could possibly offer a better price to your customer because essentially you're just aggregating that connection at that point.
Exactly. Thanks, Chris.
Yep.
And then as far as enrolling, there are some unique requirements in India, Russia, and China. So if you are in that area, then you want to make sure you're pretty much talking to Cisco because there's a case-by-case evaluation that they have to get involved with. But other than that, there's the program partner enrollment, the PPE site, that you're going to want to go to and actually pick which one you want to select and enroll in. So let's go back to Brian. So we've discussed these solutions with Brian. Brian thinks that this might be a little bit more than what he needs. He's just getting in. He's not switching over all his sites, so he's only got one site with BE6000. All the rest are kind of a couple phones. They're remote sites, don't need a lot. So he's thinking this might be actually more than what he needs at this time. So let's talk to him about WebEx Calling. So in the WebEx Calling, really the biggest advantage is it's all managed from Control Hub. So it makes it very easy. It's a very new look and feel. So people that haven't really been in the phone environment from Cisco for a very long time, or maybe they are used to the newer interfaces that they've seen, these are the solutions that help people with that type of use case because they can jump into this pretty easily and learn it pretty quickly. I mean, just jumping into this type of Control Hub, it's got a lot of little question marks you can click on if you don't know what you're doing, and it kind of walks you through the process, so it makes it very simple for users. As far as what you're getting with this particular setup, there's auto attendant. If you guys aren't familiar with auto attendant, that's pretty much when you call in and you kind of get that voice response that says press 1 for this, press 2 for this, and it redirects you into the right area. You get that automatically. There's hunt groups. So hunt groups allow you to pretty much organize people into different larger categories. So that way when someone dials a particular extension, it hunts through that group of people to find someone that's available. Receptionist client is something relatively new to this particular offering. That is if you have a front-end office that is really picking up those calls and needs to manually direct them to the right people and have an interface that allows for them to easily do that, you're getting that as well. A paging group allows you to select certain devices to set up as a you dial it and all of them pick up. So let's say we've got some paging speakers that we want to set up as a particular extension. We can do that using paging groups. So think school districts, things like that would be a good end user for that. Let's say call queue. So call queue is something that you pretty much find in most calling environments, but pretty much it allows you to pick up a call as it comes in. If you've already on a call, it kind of puts the other one behind yours. And that way when you finish with your current call, the next call jumps in and you can take that one. Call pickup allows you to grab a call whenever you're needing to. And that can be to a group of users, so you can assign it to a particular area, and then people can see that call flashing, and then they can pick that call when they need it. And then call park is pretty much if you're going to be, say, that receptionist is throwing that call on, say, extension 7211, and then you need to page out to everybody and say there's a call on 7211, and they can then grab that call by just dialing that extension or hitting a button on their phone. That's what Call Park is. So you get all those features as part of that solution. As far as connectivity options, so we do have the cloud connected PSTN provider option that is already rolled out for the solution. There's IntelliPeer and NTT. There's also a local PSTN gateway, so if you also want to run the ISR 4000 in this solution, you can. So you can put that at the customer site, and then they can have the lines come into their site and then push out to the cloud. And then there's also the bundled PST option. That's when you're partnering with service providers. So the service provider is providing that at that point. As far as the phones themselves, so pretty much any of the MPP phones will be supported on the solution. So if you're used to the old Spark calling, you can't use the same phones that you use with the old Spark calling unless they're one of the newer ones. And then you still need to convert those over to MPP firmware as long as that firmware is available for your phone. If you're using just the standard enterprise firmware, it will not connect to the solution unless you convert over your firmware. So in most cases when you're going to be rolling this out, you want to make sure that you're picking the MPP firmware phones so that where they're shipping with the correct firmware pre-installed. It can be a pain to convert all those phones over to the right firmware, and then there's also licensing and stuff like that on the back end that you have to make sure that you're downloading and getting. So just make sure as you're ordering them, you're ordering the MPP phones. One of the other things that you get with the solution is analytics. So there's some basic analytics at this point. So you've got call minutes, and call details, which tell you like the name of the person, the email, their start time, end time, so the duration they've been on a call, and you can break that up into daily, weekly, or monthly. And then with the same time frames, you can also look at call quality. So was there drop packets and stuff like that that you started to have issues with, jitter, that kind of stuff, high latency that could be causing your calls to either sound poor or just disconnect entirely. So this is a good way to check into this to see if certain sites or certain people are having issues. So maybe it's a networking problem to a particular user or to a particular site, and you can then address those as needed. As far as where you can sell it, so pretty much all those countries in green is where you can actually sell and deploy. The ones in orange here is you can deploy here but not sell it here. And then the embargo countries, again, are the ones where we can't deploy or sell. So if you're a global reseller, good idea to take a snapshot of this image. It's also available at Cisco, so that way you can have this information when needed. And this is always being updated, so as more and more of these countries are available to be rolled out into, this will be updated as well on the Cisco site.
Yeah, Matt, and I'll chime in a little bit here on that type of approach. So going back to that slide, the green countries that are listed, that is basically what Cisco considers your contract countries. So you can sell into those countries at whatever that country's local currency is. When you get to the orange piece, that is more or less your satellite countries that are supported. So you can't technically sell into that, but you can basically deploy into that. So a satellite country, like let's say Turkey, would connect back to a contract country, which would be anyone listed on that green tab over there, right? Typically, the sell country is where the Cisco WebEx calling data centers would be hosted, right? The satellite countries, the orange countries, would connect back to those contract countries, those contract data centers, to make that connection.
Yeah, so as a side note on that, when you're doing those satellite countries, just make sure you can get a connection back to a partner country or a place where you actually have your data center.
Also, just talking about that, that global approach, when you look at the PSTN providers, IntelliPeer as well as NTT Communications, those are the two that are supported as CCP, Cloud Connected PSTN providers. NTT was on one of the Voice of the Account Managers about a month ago, and they did stress that they are a global provider, so a nice mix there. Where you could position an NTT solution or NTT PSTN if you have global customers that may have multiple connections to data centers across the world. NTT would also be a good fit.
Yeah, we just had a question, Chris. Is a local gateway still a requirement, or is direct using IntelliPure an option? No on-premise hardware except the endpoints. So yes, that would be accurate. So depending again on how you need to roll it out. So if you need an ISR 4000 at the customer site, that's up to you. So you can have those PSTN lines come into that location and then push out to the cloud if you prefer. So that's still an option, but it's no longer a requirement.
Yeah, and that's a huge step forward because it was once the specific requirement, and technically that's not a complete cloud solution.
Right. Thank you. So Matt Wagner, I'm going to move over to you now. So we're going to cover over a little bit about the selling of these solutions. So if you can go over the program qualifications for UCM in the cloud first here for them, and then we'll switch over to the WebEx calling options, and then we'll go a little bit more into pricing.
So for the UCM in the cloud, you're going to be either a CMSP or have the advanced collaboration specialization or the master collaboration specialization. Overall, in terms of ease of attaining, the CMSP is the route to go. The ACAS or the master is going to take quite a heavy investment of time and some monetary investment. Obviously, Ingram and Cisco have ways of helping to kind of mitigate that a little bit for you. But those are both of the authorizations you're going to need. The WebEx calling, so the pre-qualification for that is going to be having the SaaS authorization. So what that is, it's not on here. It's going to require 2 folks to watch about 3.5 hours worth of video online, and then there is an online exam that follows it for each person. They are $80 a piece. We do have access to vouchers, so when that time comes around, you can reach out to myself or your regional market development rep, and they can request the vouchers for you on your behalf. For the WebEx calling, there are 4 total individuals that are going to need to take exams, 2 of which are sales-focused, 2 of which are engineer-focused. We don't know quite yet. We're waiting on Cisco to finalize everything, what the content is going to be like, the length of it, how long the on-demand videos are going to take. Currently, as it sits, it's about a $9,000 cost for the admin trainings. You have to go to a specific site for Cisco and train for 5 days. But we have word that it's going to be early March that it's going to change over. So just keep an eye out for that. We will definitely be blasting that information out because it's going to be a lot easier of a barrier of entry to start selling WebEx calling.
And one of the reasons we don't have the full time frame it's going to take to do that online training for that piece is just because Cisco hasn't finished yet. So they're still actually in the process of building it, which is why this hasn't launched yet. So just keep that in mind as we're going forward.
All right, so we can talk a little bit about price. So the one thing I want to start with is always to reach out to your regional MD rep or myself when it comes to trying to register a deal for any WebEx calling, anything collaborate related. So anything that has a hardware value or a software value of over $10,000 list price, you're definitely going to want to register that deal in CCW as an OIP opportunity. That way you can get your additional up to 8 points off. The 2 things I want to talk about, so in relation to WebEx calling, right now there is a small deal accelerator going on. So any WebEx calling that is named user, so that'll be 250 users and below, you can get up to 58% off automatically. That will be done in via a quick quote, even if you are not able to get, if you're not able to register for OIP, you can still do this in CCW as a quick quote. Very easy to do. It will automatically pull for you. If you are doing a calling and meetings bundle, it's up to 40% off automatically. So you have those options available to you. Standard discount is up to 27% for these, so these are big helps as far as discounts are concerned. The next part is, I will also send this, is there is an Ignite the Mid-Market promotion going on right now that has to do with OIP or MIP within the Cisco Commerce Workspace tool. that will automatically be pulled on top of those discounts as well. So those for collaboration, you get up to 62% off products. And it also is running for the other architecture, so that's good for security, for enterprise networking, for data center. So I'll send that information as well so you have that.
Thanks, Matt. Also, as we're just wrapping up here, if you've never been to our Business Transformation Center here in Williamsville, New York, or just outside of Buffalo, New York, feel free to shoot us a message, btc@ingrammicro.com. We'll be glad to have you here, give you a little bit of a tour. You can play with some of the equipment. We've got a lot of equipment here from Cisco, and not just in the UC space. There's a lot of other areas as well that we have equipment here from Cisco. And we can do demos on site, so we can bring your customers in here. We can talk to them directly, or if you need to just have some hands-on time with the equipment. I found that the more people use the equipment, the more likely they are to purchase. So feel free to bring them in and schedule an appointment with us to do that. We can also do sessions virtually if you'd like. And we do have other environments, not just like a conference room. So we've got a classroom, we have healthcare, we have retail. So feel free to bring them in. We can kind of gear the conversation to this particular vertical that they are in to make it more advantageous for them. This has been a part of the Cisco Virtual Learning series, Enable a Level Up, and the Business Transformation Center. There is some additional courses coming up, so if you haven't had a chance to check them out, feel free to do so. There is the site there that you can click on and go to, sign up for any of the upcoming trainings. And the next one here is on February 6th at 1 p.m. for the Catalyst side. And I'd like to thank Matt Wagner for joining us and Chris Heinrich, and for everybody that's been on the call today. Enjoy the rest of your day, everybody.